Jai Hind, my name is Navneet Anand, and you're watching a special edition of Bureaucrats India Dialogue. Today is December 22, 2023. And today we have with us a very bright young officer of the Indian Railway Traffic Service, Srishti Gupta. From graduation in mathematics from Hansraj College in Delhi University to IRTS, Master of Social Work, and then Masters in Public Policy to Oxford. It's been a remarkable journey, and then of course railways, and working from World Bank to your current position. Welcome to the show, Srishti Gupta ji.
Thank you so much, Dr.
How do you look at your transition, from Hansraj College till, take us through in very brief your journey so far, and then we come to the main questions.
Right. So I would say that my journey pretty much actually began in Hansraj, and I know you are an alumni of Delhi University as well, and we know what a diverse atmosphere we get there. So while I was in Hansraj, I was doing maths, and I was very interested at that time in maths. But during the course of my time in Hansraj, when I was heading the National Service Scheme Unit, the NSS unit, and I was volunteering with a lot of NGOs, soon after Hansraj, I was amply clear that I want to work in the so-called development sector, like in some way be engaged in solving real-world problems. So, which is why I thought maybe TISS and a master's in social work would be a good idea. But again, soon enough, I realized my father was right that civil services is a good sort of medium to bring about change at scale, which is why soon after my master's in social work, I appeared for the civil services and I was given the railway service. And to my surprise, I really liked the railway traffic service, which is why I sort of, stopped giving the civil services. And ever since, I'm from 2014 batch. I've been in railway. I was working in Mumbai, and I've been fortunate to have had a very good time in the services.
Amazing. I was going through your profile and we spoke about it. You have had a terrific stint wherever you went. And I'm sure, so you had a mathematics to development to Oxford, public policy, and all of these are so beautifully being woven by you in your current roles. Last role that you played was at Mumbai as divisional operations manager, managing 1,810 suburban trains, 220 long distance trains, and ensuring smooth operation for all this. Hats off to, of course, there is a team, but the leader is to be, given some credit. How was it made possible?
Thank you so much for your kind words. And as you rightly pointed out, there is a huge team to run that system. And honestly, it was also a big surprise for me that to see that system in function in flesh and blood, which made the so-called lifeline of Mumbai come to life every single day. So yeah, so there was a huge team, and I was the divisional operations manager. And as you said, I was responsible for operations of so many trains. But I think it was a very good experience. And I think thanks to very good leadership that we had at our division, we were able to implement some very important interventions. For instance, even when I was new, my DRM, divisional railway manager, and my boss, senior DRM, they told me that maintenance is a very big issue here because, as you can imagine, Mumbai locals runs day in and out, and we hardly get time to do the maintenance of tracks, and that is always like an issue. So we build an online system for that, which we could build in, in fast amount of time, and we could make it operational. And we saw how, on a daily basis, we were required to do, over 100 maintenance activities, and how that adoption of that system made it, more efficient. So, I think it was a whole journey initially, getting overwhelmed by the task. But in the end, I think I had a very, very fulfilling and learning experience as divisional operations manager.
Now that we are talking about Mumbai Railways, locals. You also helped develop an app, Yatri app. What was that? Help us to know that.
Yeah. So Navneet when I joined Mumbai, that was my first posting, and like any of us, I was, a little surprised by low level of adoption of technology by, our sort of organization. Um, but obviously because I was in that position, so we tried to build an official app for Mumbai locals so that people have one single source of information for all the information that they need to know about the Mumbai local. For instance, the live location of trains, the informations about disruptions, the information about fare, in a portal to go to when they lose their belongings on the train. So since there was no such app, we went ahead and built it. And as you can imagine, any new initiative takes time. So we and we because we were also trying an innovative model. We thought that we'll build it in a model in a non-fair revenue model, in the sense that we'll build it in a model wherein railway is also able to make some money. So it was a very interesting concept that we were trying our hand at. So eventually, after 1.5 years, we were able to launch an app which has all these features that I described, and was making money for the railways instead of railways spending anything. And lately, the app has been doing really well. There are over 22 lakhs downloads and over 5 lakh daily users. So I think that was also a very good experience.
How did it earn money? I couldn't get it.
So see, I mean, we could have commissioned an app on expenditure. We could have
Right.
hired, a third party, and we could have said, oh, we want to get this app done, or we could have, got it developed internally. Railway, as you know, is proficient at that. But the model that we developed was that we invited a contract wherein we said that a third party can develop this app for us, and will have some rights to, play ads on that, or,
Okay.
bring in models like subscriptions and stuff. And obviously, it was designed in a way that it doesn't hamper the user experience, and the key purpose of the app is not defeated. So try to strike a balance, which is why it took a bit of time. But ultimately, it's working right now. They're using, and as I
So how
said,
many downloads as on date? You would have
22
any
lakh.
idea?
Yeah, 22 lakh downloads, which is about over 2 million downloads. And I think daily users, last I checked, was around 4.5, 5 lakhs.
That's amazing. Is there
Yeah.
any other metro rail which is using such an app?
I would say now, like metro apps have started using, and even my current organization where I'm working, they launched a very forward-looking app for themselves. But I think again, the intervention we did in Bombay was special because of that earning model that we could
Yeah,
bring
absolutely.
in.
My team is watching, and I would request them to please do an exclusive story on this, because this deserves to be told to the rest of the world. You also did something about EV charging stations at CSMT parking lot in Mumbai. That was also a non-fare revenue model. What was that, Srishti?
So Navneet, as you may be aware, that railways or public transport in general sort of has this limitation that we have to keep our fares at a certain level. It
Mhm.
should be affordable for masses. So which is why worldwide and lately in India also, there is a big thrust on building non-fare sources of revenue, like sources of revenue other than fare. So it was one of the portfolios that I was holding when I was working in Mumbai. So under which we developed a lot of initiatives for railways, which would help us earn some money, earn some revenue. So that was one, like giving space on railway land for EV charging stations was again one of those unique initiatives that we did. But I think all credits to our ministry also, which was bringing in such progressive policies that allowed officers at the divisional level like us to take these initiatives. So in the end, as you can imagine, Amiji, again, it was a win-win. What it did was that railway was giving railway land some, as you can imagine, EV charging stations would not take so much space. Railway gave land for EV charging. Railway earned some license fee, and in turn, we also helped proliferate the charging infrastructure for electric vehicles. So again, it was something that that would get us positive results on many fronts.
So, is it all that we are getting to see the innovator Srishti Gupta has to do certainly with your background, mathematics, then social,
Social
development,
work.
public
Yeah.
policy, social work, and then public policy. So, how much do you think education helps when it comes to, replicating the learnings, theoreticals mostly, into our real life situations, including professional situations?
I think that's a very good question. And honestly, because of, you know, um, I have two elder siblings, like my brother is an engineer, my sister is a doctor. Thanks to them, I didn't do any of those degrees. So I have thought very deeply about, the very thing that you're mentioning, that what does our educational background bring to us and how it helps us think, how it helps us sort of perform at work. So my sort of approach on this is that a multidisciplinary sort of educational background is really helpful in expanding your horizons, in expanding in the way you think. And I'm sure people will know that there's a very famous book these days that people read called The Range, which talks about this. So, and in my own life, I felt that at one point I was really interested in maths. That gave me a way of looking at things in a more scientific, in a more objective way. But I think studying social sciences really broadened my horizons and gave me an outlook that helped me, in my work a big deal. So I think having that multidisciplinary approach has been really beneficial.
Excellent. No wonder you also did something on plastic recycling campaign at CSMT. What was that? It was also inspired in collaboration with UNDP.
Yeah. So Navneet, I think I was very lucky that I had at all points I had bosses who were very again forward looking. So we during my whole tenure we extensively collaborated with NGOs, other government agencies, international bodies. So it was one of those collaborations where we gave some space to UNDP, and they, as you can imagine, railway stations are a place of massive footfall, and they use this, sort of access to people to create awareness about, plastic recycling. And we ran a very interesting campaign called Plastic Love Mask. Oh, yeah, if I remember correctly, it was this that we encouraged people to bring in plastic from their homes, and they would get free masks from our site. And yeah, that was during COVID.
Excellent. Uh, various roles, that we spoke about, you have engaged with the public, private, NGOs and international organization. So what's your uh, driving passion or inspiration and strategy of fostering workable relationship with each one of these, partners?
Right. Um, yeah, I think the one thing that I firmly believe in, and I sort of try and act on it, is also that um, development sector, although government is the biggest stakeholder, but there are different sort of players, especially these days. There are NGOs which are very, very specialized in specific domains. Like we have worked with NGOs which helped us make this Yatri app that I was mentioning more accessible for people with maybe visually challenged people. So what I'm trying to say is that in the development sector, the government has the biggest role, but there are organizations and players who bring in very specific strengths and experiences. So the first step to fostering good relationships is to acknowledge that there is some merit to engaging with the other party, and then acting as equals. We are providing we are giving permissions and we are making our spaces available, but they are also helping us bridge some governance gap. Like I said, an NGO that we worked with helped us make the Yatri app more accessible. There was another NGO that we worked with that um, helped us with the issue of children that we see at railway stations, the children who are missing or are lost. So that NGO helped us devise ways in which we could provide proper support to them. So my thinking around this is that we should acknowledge the strengths and weaknesses of each of the players, and act as equals.
Naturally, you have navigated all this with a great class and style and efficiency. And I'm sure you learned a great deal doing the World Bank project on urban transport projects in both India and Bangladesh. You also looked at gendered mobility and ways of enhancing it. Share some experience and insights from there, Srishti.
Sure. So the time I spent at the World Bank was again very, I would say, enlightening in many ways. Because I'll give you a simple sort of data point that when we look at urban transport, we never connect it with the issue of poverty. We never think about how providing transport maybe a very potent tool for reducing poverty, making our societies more equal. So the data point here is that ideally, people should spend, say, around 10 to 12% of their monthly income on transport. And statistics from India say that people are spending upwards of 25, 20%. So it naturally affects their ability to spend on other productive things, to save, etc. So in World Bank, our projects were centered around planning transport in a way that it is affordable. It is able to sort of bring down the cost of travel, and it is also able to support people's access to opportunities. And in that, they were taking a very integrated approach. So one of our project was trying to see how we can plan transport and housing in an integrated way, so that people are able to live close to public transport and use it, and and sort of spend less on both accounts. Similarly, we worked very heavily also on making urban transport accessible for everyone, accessible for women, accessible for differently abled and people with medical issues and elderly. So there were a lot of interventions that we were planning for a public transport, an upcoming public transport project in Bangladesh, and that was a very useful exercise that I was involved in.
Excellent. So I also happen to be part of a company called Grey Matters Communications. That is where we earn our bread from, and some bit of it is channelized into sustaining this initiative called Bureaucrats India, which is about celebrating stories of good governance, getting bright officers like you to tell their stories. And I think we have been doing it well, and very proud of people like you who enrich our bureaucratic space. The conventional idea or a skepticism about bureaucracy, I think we have been striving very hard to dispel that. And Bureaucrats India is proud to be at the forefront of taking such great stories and such great officers to the public domain. One of the organizations that we work with as at Grey Matters is a leading disability organization working in disability space, NCPEDP, and they constantly bring to us issues about the mobility and challenges for the disabled. Do you have a view on this? Do you see there is still lots to be done when it comes to mobility for the disabled people?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think uh, see, the point is that if we do not build our transport systems, our mobility systems, in a way that they're accessible to our most vulnerable people, then we are further denying them an opportunity to access education, to access employment, to even just, we are just denying them the right to, move around. So I think it is a very serious issue. And by doing so, we are not just, sort of infringing on their rights, we're also hurting our own economy. These are people who could be, a part of the economic force and help us in different ways. So I think it is very important, and I feel that it should not be an afterthought. That once the systems are built and then we think about it. But I'm very happy to see that all our ministries have guidelines, and these days at least our urban transport systems have some essential guidelines that we follow to ensure accessibility. But I think it should, the thrust should continue, and the focus should be that if we can build a system which is safe and accessible for the most vulnerable person in our society, it will be, helpful for everyone. It will be helpful for a pregnant woman. It will be helpful for me if I have a fracture in my leg. So we have to look at it from a, broader perspective.
Right, and that brings me to your current role, Srishti, from a very, very dynamic urban transportation system that, like that of Mumbai, to a very diverse, I would say, system in Delhi or NCR. So, what's your current role at the National Capital Region Transport Corporation? If you could help us also to understand what is the corporation doing and what are you helping it with?
For sure. So, Navneet, currently I'm the lead strategy for NCR Transport Corporation. It's the NCRTC. And I feel very privileged to be a part of this organization because this is the organization which is building these regional rapid transit systems for Delhi. So we are trying to connect Delhi in all directions. The idea is to give regional connectivity to Delhi so that there is lower congestion, lower pollution. So I think it is a very well planned project under exemplary leadership. And this project has many phases. In the first phase, we are trying to provide connectivity from Delhi to Meerut and Delhi to Alwar and Delhi to Kanpur. So currently, if you have noticed that the corridor from Delhi to Meerut has also been operationalized in part. So at the strategy team, we are focused on making this system um, very integrated. So what we are doing is that there is huge amount of multimodal integration in the project at all levels. So you will see many of our stations have, have a bus stop, have a metro, have connectivity with the Indian Railway on the same floor. So that is one. The second is that we are doing very extensive last mile integration. So as all of us know that with public transport, the issue is of the first mile and the last mile. How do I get to the railway station or to whatever, to the bus stop from my home, and how do I take my journey from the station to the office? So we are there is there's very proactive planning on bridging the first mile and the last mile issue. Similarly, overall, there is a whole approach to build you know, these three corridors and subsequent corridors in a way that there'll be a whole network of networks that really decongest, Delhi in the long run. So to be specific, if one can travel to Delhi from Delhi to Meerut in less than an hour, there'll be in future people will be living in Meerut and working in Delhi with much more ease. They are still doing that, but it'll be sort of facilitated and maybe it'll help in decongesting Delhi. So at strategy team, we have very clear strategic objectives of this project, and we are working on that. And to be honest, I'm just 3 months old in this organization, and so far the experience has been really fulfilling.
Great. I'm going to come back to you again and again because as a student of sociology, this I was thinking as you were speaking that whether this is going to help in containing out migration from these peripheral cities, whether Delhi and that has been the bane of urbanization always, everything converging or concentrating in one pocket or few pockets. Now, this
Indeed.
certainly is a long-term vision and hopefully. So what's been the traffic so far? Is it finding acceptance?
So the section that we have opened so far is very minimal, and it is more for our operational purposes. And Navneet, you will be really happy to know that the very operationalization of the priority corridor that we have opened is very interesting because it has been completed in less than 4 years. It started in 2019 and we could open it. And why this priority sector has been opened and is like a testing ground is that it is for the first time that we have a track in India that is operational and has a design speed of 180 kph. So, and it's a very unique track. It's an Austrian technology. So that technology is never been tested in India. Secondly, we have a signaling system that is a global first. We
Okay.
could get into the technical nitty-gritties of it, But the point is that this corridor for us was also, I would say, a testing ground. And so far, I think it has been very good sort of reception. The Prime Minister inaugurated it, and even the next subsequent section is about to get opened. So I think that will really push the ridership.
Excellent. I request you to write a piece helping the common citizens to understand the massive technological deployment, global first, and how it is going to impact society per se. So we'll be happy to carry it. Excellent. I think you are at the right place at the right time. I feel like going on and on, talking about your innovative initiatives. The other one that comes to my mind is public bike sharing at the Kurla station. What was that about, Srishti?
So Navneet, in Mumbai, again, like I'm glad we had this discussion. I can refer to it that with public transport, there is this issue of lack of first mile and last mile facilities for commute. So in Bombay, um, we have a station in Kurla, which is very close to Bandra Kurla complex, which you know is a economic hub. So what we did was that we introduced these electric bikes at Kurla station, using which people commute to Bandra Kurla complex these days. And that bike sort of stand is operated by a third party. Again, it's a source of revenue for us, and it helps it helps us to give our commuters an option to sort of take while they disembark on our station. And again, it has received very good response. And it has also challenged that conception that, oh, in Indian cities they cannot be bike lanes, or bicycling cycling in general is not a viable option. But in our case, we chose a good spot which we felt had enough traffic because of BKC, and we provided a good facility, and it has been patronized. So it was a very interesting experiment even for me, and it's again running successfully as we speak.
Excellent. Please also tell us about the digital maps at 18 Mumbai stations, suburban railway stations.
So again, at the stations, I think all of us have faced this difficulty of, having to navigate where's the booking office, where's the toilet. So what we did was that we put these digital maps on the station, which could be, modified easily. And these maps were put at all key stations. And again, because I was, in the non-fare revenue department, again, we put these digital maps. We call them passenger amenity maps. You could look at the whole map of the station and navigate your way very easily. And again, these big screens of, I remember, 6.5 by 4.5 feet were very
Oh,
helpful for people. Sorry.
yeah, excellent.
Yeah. Yeah, so they were very visual, and they were very helpful for people to navigate their way. So, even for a layperson, they can look at it and know where's what. And what I was referring to is that again we did it on no expenditure to railway. We did it in advertising mode, so some space was given for advertising, and as I told you that we had defined size for the passenger amenity map, so we could display these maps help and which could help people navigate the stations more easily and avoid cost on railway. So that was interesting.
Amazing. Great. Is it also one of the first of its kind in India, Srishti ji?
Yeah, definitely. At the time it was. And I think going forward, it has been replicated at some place. And I think that's the beauty of Ministry of Railways lately, that a lot of such very interesting interventions were taken under the non-fare revenue scheme across India, and they were replicated all over. So we were first in this. Similarly, we also started like sleeping pods. So they are, if you happen to visit CFMP, the VT station in Bombay, you will see that there are some very high-end and very affordable sleeping pods at the station, which people can use instead of a expensive hotel. So that was also something that we did in non-fare revenue was replicated as well.
Good. We are all blessed to have a Prime Minister like Narendra Modi, a visionary, and a Railway Minister like Ashwini Vaishnaw who is again an extraordinary visionary. Excellent. Now, towards the end, some messages for young women aspirants who look at civil services as a second stop, not as the primary. There is this trend, especially in urban centers of India, that people are going towards management and a whole lot of new age career opportunities. But I personally believe that still the kind of opportunities that you get in civil services, it's humongous. So any message for these young girls from you, and of course boys also?
I think what you were alluding to is very interesting in the sense that, and I fully agree to that, and my message is centered around that. The thing is that if you're looking for impact, I mean, I think one should have clarity. If you're looking for money, if you're looking for even power these days, because bureaucracy is changing very rapidly. So if you're just looking for power, maybe today's bureaucracy is not for you. If you're just, focused around making lots of money, which maybe, getting an MBA might get you, then again, bureaucracy is not for you. But I think if you are looking for a meaningful job, if you're looking for impact at scale, if you're looking to get challenged intellectually, solving problems that you face as a citizens, that millions of citizens face around you, then I think bureaucracy is definitely a place for you. And I think one should give it a think. And I'll be honest here that when I started preparing for civil services, I was only looking at administrative service or maybe at foreign service because I really like the foreign service as well. But I cleared in second attempt. I got the rank I got, and I got the railway service. And I will share a personal experience here that I was disappointed at getting the railway service because I was obviously everyone aims for highest, of course, administrative service or other services of their choice. But I was so pleasantly surprised to see the kind of work that the service or any other service allows you to do. And then I said to myself that, there's no need to, just keep reappearing to the exams. If, my purpose of being able to do some meaningful work is being fulfilled here. And I can tell you that that's the case with many services that you may not even have heard of. So like there's a service called Indian Audit and Account Service. There's another service called Indian Corporate Law Service, which are all very, very interesting. So overall, I think civil services is a very, very like fulfilling place to be in. And for someone like me who was fortunate to have had opportunities, I have always consciously chosen to remain in the civil services, and I don't regret it. So I think I would strongly recommend for anyone who wants to do meaningful work, who wants to have an impact, a real impact. I think civil services is the way to go.
Excellent. Now, help us to know you better, and those yearning to become like you. What is Srishti Gupta doing when she is not doing a strategy or thinking about policy or contemplating her next app? What is it?
I'm into sports. Like I like table tennis very much, and I like swimming very much. Other than that, I believe that I am into reading, but reading is something that you can never get enough of. And the final thing is that like many of us, I love traveling. So right now also I'm on a small holiday. Yeah, that's the
And
Srishti in
who
our
all
free
in
time.
family, Srishti ji?
Sorry.
Who all in family?
Oh, so I'm married, and my husband works in the private sector. Um, it's just the two of us, and we have like siblings on both sides who,
And
like
your
any other
parents are in
family, are
Delhi.
very bonded. Sorry.
Parents are in Delhi.
No, parents are in Lucknow. I'm basically from Lucknow. My parents still live in Lucknow,
Okay.
and my in-laws live in Bhubaneswar.
Amazing. So, and your job takes you places. Wonderful. Excellent talking to you. One last message for us, my team at Bureaucrats India, and the initiative of Bureaucrats India, which we are, trust me, we are going to play big and loud, because we want some motivation.
Um, well, I think I mean I'm not just trying to be polite here, but I think um, you guys are doing a very fine job, and I presume it's not a very old organization. What I specifically like about the work that you guys are trying to do and the vision you have is that you're truly putting a human face on the otherwise faceless and nameless bureaucracy. And I agree the bureaucracy should be nameless and faceless, but putting the human face helps in letting people understand the experiences of bureaucrats, and that helps in helps in people who are sort of confused about their choices, who are who are generally curious about how our systems are working, how our railways are working, how our how the CAG office is working. So I think that job of bringing the bureaucracy to life is very important, is very interesting, and I think it serves a very large purpose of attracting talent to the bureaucracy, which is much needed, as you said, in today's world where there are so many options. So I think it is a very important role that you guys are trying to sort of play, and I wish you all the very best for it.
Thank you so much. And thanks to my team, Vigya, Pooja, Pragya, Divyansh, Rakesh, Naina, and all of those who make it happen. Thank you. You were watching Bureaucrats India, a special dialogue with very young, very bright officer Srishti Gupta in the Indian Railway Traffic Service 2014 batch. And there was so much to learn from her. We look forward to getting back to you again and again, Srishti ji, for getting more stories and more innovative ideas. Thank you. Jai Hind. Namaskar.
Thank you so much. Thank you, team.